I like it when pigeons do this. Like, what are you doing? Hey all, Kyle here from Cosplays from Trash. There's a reason why my beard looks funky. For context, every month on my Patreon, I do something called Trash After Dark, which is, you know, the Marvel swimsuit edition. A little bit more than that. But anyway, I just finished the Asuma photo shoot, which is last month. A couple weeks ago, I competed in the Cherry Blossom Festival in Nashville. Did I win? Ooh, something, watch and find out. I'm not that person, that's really annoying. I competed with Hanzo. What specifically Cupid Hanzo from Overwatch / Overwatch 2. So when I say someone's from Overwatch, like, don't you mean Overwatch 2? I'm like, okay, I guess. According to metrics that I briefly glanced at once because numbers hurt my brain, apparently only like 40% of people that watch are actually subscribed. Okay, I don't really know what to do with that information other than say, like, I don't know, subscribe. It actually would really help me out. And now, a word from our sponsor. Considering it's been like about a year since I really started doing YouTube more seriously, I was going to do something with the Hut Slayer. Can't force a square peg into a circular hole. I mean, you can. I mean, it depends on a hole size. Hanzo was a costume I made in 2023. I spent about 3 weeks of all my free time. And then I kind of did the props very quickly in a week. Very quickly. I competed with this cosplay once, and I really wanted to do it one more time just to like win, because I really like the costume and I think it's really good. And so I thought, let's upgrade this. If you look really closely, you can see that the outfit was made pretty well, and a lot of the props are not made super well. For context, sewing is the first craft, well, woodworking is the first craft I learned, but then sewing is the main cosplay craft that I know, and so typically my sewing is going to be a lot better than my crafting. Point is, I've gotten better. Yeah, like 2 years ago. So the main things I wanted to upgrade were the bow, the arrows, the quiver. And the fourth thing is just making things fit better. Looking at the old bow and arrow, I don't want to say it was bad because it's, you know, when you make things out of trash, things are going to be a little bit rough around the edges. And I'm pretty proud of using some of these crappy materials. Crappy meaning trash. I wanted the tip to look a little bit better. That's it. Just that's the main part that I wanted to upgrade. But if I'm going to upgrade that, I might as well upgrade all of it. Keep in mind, I only had 1 arrow for some reason the first time. Oh yeah, because I did it in a week. So I thought, why not 4 arrows? Truth be told, the reason that there were 4 arrows now is because I was going to make X amount of arrows, and this is the number of... Oh, fun fact, this poll, the minor thing, do you remember my Hercules outfit and the clip where I said, oh yeah, my neighbor's cat died and this was the cat shelf? I didn't say it like that, that's not my voice. Point is, those are the poles that held the cat shelf. Rip in peace, Fluffy. I could have sworn I had more poles because I was originally going to make 6 or 8, but I'm kind of glad that I only had 4 because the quiver, making the tip, that was fine. I ended up 3D printing that. I did model it myself. When you are being constructive in any way, in general, what the inside look like doesn't matter as much. Things can be broken down into 2 categories effectively. Structural or aesthetic. Super broad categories, but I personally don't care structurally if things look ugly. I only care about the outward aesthetic with veneer when it comes to making things out of trash. The quiver overall was basically a lot of different trash that was mostly already in the shapes that was needed. Cut, spliced, sanded, glued, together, and then a combination of EVA foam, clay foam, and drywall mud. Lots of different goops of varying hardnesses, sanding capacities, and things like that. A lot of my cosplays, if you open them up, this is a funny example, but it's not necessarily wrong. Imagine that there is just a pole that is made to hold up a deck. And you're like, that's structural. And you're like, yeah, it works. It's really ugly. And you're like, well, what do you mean? And we like peel off the wood layer, and it's like a bunch of, I don't know, baby head dolls. It's very structured. It's fine. Like, it's very, very safe, but it's terrifying. Because of that, the arrows went through a little bit of modification during the process. Video game physics don't translate to real world physics sometimes, and unless I don't see the 3D models correctly, I don't think these would be functional arrows. The main thing that I wanted to make is I wanted to modify the design a little bit to work around some trash that I had. The main thing that I was going to use for these feathers, I think last time I did just use scrap foam. That's fine to use those old scraps, but I wanted to make it a little better. And so I used, I think this is a carbon filter. Anyway, it's one that goes into a blocky square air filter. I'm not kidding when I say I think that took 6 layers of paint. Ended up using tennis grips and a few other pieces of gold trim. I made a little bit of bias tape, realized how terrible it was, and the one thing on my Hanzo costume that is not trash, decent, I don't remember exactly how much, we can safely say most. Like very much most. But honestly, the arrows ended up being the most fun part to make on this. Well, they looked really good, and I felt like I have
use skills that I have learned over the last couple of years to get better. And
moving on to the bow, there were a few pieces on the bow that were just crappy. A variety of things on the bow originally were made from foam scraps. That includes the feathers, various accoutrements and adornments. Because, by the way, bow and arrows, string doesn't move. It's not made of elastic. It's the bow. You're building up pressure with the bow when it actually compresses. Yeah, bows, the string doesn't move. But anyway, I don't think that's common knowledge. I ripped off all of the parts that looked crappy. That included the thing around the arrow holder. There's a word for it. I should look up terms when I'm talking about technical weapons, but that needed to be more of a holder so you could actually hold the arrow guide. Ended up adding extra foam on that and painting. There's just a lot of smoothing it out. Like, this piece looks bad, this foam was coming out, ripped that off, ended up like drilling HDMI cables in there and painting them pink. It just, things like a little bit better. The main thing that was actually really hard to upgrade was the feathers. Most guides to how to make fake feathers involve making them from paper or making them from foam. I wanted to do neither. Got this bag that's made out of a material, and I had enough silver in there so that I could basically white on the outside, silver on the inside, cut them to look like feathers, do the after putting like a chopstick or something in there. I don't remember what in there, like some trash. I have a box of things called long pointy hard, and also I have a box of long pointy soft, and also I have long pointy malleable. That actually I think won me a lot of points because that was a really cool detail that is kind of hard to notice, but then when you notice it, you do see it sparkle in the light. And of course, I did upgrade the string as well. I ended up making it elastic. I know I went on the rant about it not actually being elastic and strings to move with arrows. That's the easiest way to do it. That's the easiest way to just draw it back. I'm not going to make a functional bow. I mean, technically can shoot, but like it doesn't really. I feel like I was kind of doing a Ship of Theseus thing here, where one part looked good enough for the first pass, but quickly looked gross when I realized I want to make this look nice.
And why did you choose to go with this character?
Growing up, I never really liked video games or FPSs, and for some reason, when I was like 30, I decided I really liked Overwatch, and I spent a bajillion hours in it. Hanzo isn't one of my favorite characters, but I like all of his skins because he has so many cool costumes in there, so this was like a way of saying I'm going to do a really hard costume for a genre of video game that I never used to like.
And what was your favorite thing about this cosplay?
I have to brag, but I always say that all of my costumes are made pretty much 100% from trash. The only thing in here that is not is one 3D printed part, just because it's a little safer than the metal scraps. But beyond that, the bow does technically fire the arrow a little bit. And then on the back of the quiver, it's kind of hard to see in daylight, but there's actually a pink heart that lights up on the bottom. So I have like electronics and a working weapon and stuff. It is on, it's just really hard to see.
He said working electronics and stuff. And what was the hardest part about this cosplay?
The hardest part about the cosplay is probably the quiver, because I make everything from trash. Everything's really heavy, so the quiver probably weighs about 15 pounds, which is pretty heavy for a cosplay prop. And I have a special harness that's under both my shorts and my shirt. It is kind of, there's like 4 carabiners in there, but it's very painful to wear, to be honest, but I had to be authentic and make it out of trash. So.
All right, well, let's get on a 360 view.
Now we're on to the quiver. The quiver got a complete overhaul. There was just so much extra gunk on the quiver, I think, that I kind of just slopped a lot of drywall mud on the first time. So there was a lot of shaving things off, smoothing things down. The cup that was protruding out, that was like some of that really gross interior, that was kind of preventing some of the arrows from coming out, so I had to smooth that down, Dremel the cup, make that smooth, shave off part of the quiver bits, and just try to make things a little bit smoother in general. I also wanted to hide the rope that is actually connected. Keep in mind, because the rope does come over my shoulder, connects to a pair of like jock strap that has, it's just a carabiner in there. Special about that. Updating the quiver was like updating the bow times 4 because one looked more passable originally. Both got an updated paint job. There were a little extra features that I added to the quiver, like the strip of really disgusting foam was not very vibrant, so I replaced that with cloth. I did take a little artistic liberty and want to make these accoutrements that go around the bottom of it. I just think it made it really kind of made it pop a little bit better. Also, you could smooth the thing out. But the coolest part is I put a light on the bottom. Why?
You know it's cool.
Pretend I lined this up perfectly. Ooh. Ooh. On the game, it has one. Those are held in by magnets. That is a large car magnet that someone had that I cut 2 circles out of, and well, that's what holds the magnet together. Like, it's literally, you know, you have the quiver and you have the bottom and the magnet. It kind of felt like home demolition a little bit because I don't want to knock any of the load-bearing pieces out of the way or damage them, so the excavation process went pretty slowly on this. For the rest of the things, I also added the Velcro actually in the gauntlet so the tattoo sleeve would hold on, repainted that, reshaped that a little bit. In the leggings, I added Velcro that would hold up a little bit better because the old Velcro that I had was the kind you had to like really squish together. And I want the one that like, if it just touches itself, it's like, oh, we're stuck. The other one you have to like, huge mistake when I was designing it. But that was the only thing that I had. I live and learn. Live and don't learn. Now that the costume looked really good, I wanted to change a lot of the structure underneath of it because my biggest complaint with the costume has been it is incredibly uncomfortable to wear and I can't really move or else the costume is going to start flopping around. It's implied that it's a solid gold quiver and that would not hold to someone's back that well. So that's why there was the apparatus to latch it onto myself, basically. I ended up not wearing pants. I just wore a couple layers of underwear, so that's a little bit more costume accurate. Also, people will stop asking me, oh, did you also make the shorts? Because for some reason, when I say like everything is, you know, made from trash, they're like, and the shorts? I'm like, okay, it's the one, Dad, it's the one thing in this costume. Both times I've competed with this, he said like, oh, the shorts are my favorite part. There's a few hidden pieces of Velcro and elastic on the, I'm not even sure what this is, just the bib thing that he wears, and also the harness that you have to put things on in a very specific order. And because of that, you will have a lot of things that are hidden. Any cosplayer knows, as long as you hide the stuff, it'll probably look okay. And so there is a fair amount of Velcro and elastic. There's like 4 layers, and the elastic goes underneath the, okay, so you put the jacket on first, and then the quiver. So now you have like 2 layers, and then you have the harness, which is the 3rd layer, and the 4th layer, which is the floppy thing. If you're ever like competing or doing photo shoots, I don't think there's any problem with tying things down before you go on stage because you don't want to mishap. Basically, this was my entire week leading up to the Cherry Blossom Festival. I asked my assistant Ryan to go with me.
Deal, bitch, I'm a big deal. You wish you pop that tongue, bitch. Girl, what did that girl just say? Girl,
None of this means anything.
don't make it rain on me. Nails, hair,
Like what binds those 4 things together? Which those don't really work as a category. Shouldn't you pose before the camera clicks?
I work.
Work.
Say,
Play.
I don't work, I strut.
Strut. My butt. Oh wait. I would have rhymed.
Because you kind of need a second person here.
And we're off.
What am I paying you in today?
Beans and potatoes.
For some reason, my legs were cramping up. I don't think I had any water the day before. Back in the day, whatever that means, cosplay competitions weren't as difficult, simply because there were fewer people. Now, there's a lot of really talented people out there. Entry-level cosplay competitions are just getting harder and harder. Cherry Blossom Festival doesn't have any categories for novice to master, and in light of that, it has the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place. Guess who won the grand prize? I am not the biggest fan of putting this costume on, but it's really nice when something comes together. Yeah, a large reason why I started doing all of this was to have an excuse to finish my costume. I wanted to get on stage and like show off. I did it, an accomplishment. It wasn't for the purpose of winning. Hopefully winning doesn't detract away from my sentiment of don't let anyone tell you your cosplays aren't good enough. This sounds silly to say, but like I didn't necessarily mean to get better. Obviously it's a good thing that you get better at crafting, but like I started doing this to like build things out of trash, show that anyone could do it. Many costumes that I've been in, I've literally knew 120,000% that I wasn't gonna win. Like when I competed with Nut Tuck, that's fine. Like it's just not that difficult of a costume, and that's fine. But like I just wanted to like I did it. I made a costume.
3rd place winner, Mitzi with Tokyo Mew Mew. 2nd place winner as Luigi from Luigi's Mansion. And are you ready for your grand prize winner? Yeah! Can I please get Cosplays from Trash to the stage? Woo! Your grand prize winner of the National Cherry Blossom Festival Cosplay Contest.
Very happy for the few times that I've winning. I don't now that I'm moving up in the categories, it's going to be harder to win, but like again, it's never about winning. Seriously, don't let anyone tell you your cosplays aren't good enough. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I feel like Mr. Rogers how I just crossed my legs, but see you next time. People get scammed, oh yeah, from Lord of the Rings. That's really cool. They're like, don't you mean Lord of the Rings? Turn of the king? Stop that. You know what I mean. I want to be told this information all the time over text. Like in the movie 27 Dresses. Intro joke, am I recording? What are her relationships to those 27 people? So I don't want to watch the movie. I'm not an ornithologist. I'm assuming she gets married by the end. Is she the 27th dress? Don't know why I did that. She been divorced? Forgot to get their number so I don't keep in contact with them. So maybe they're eaten by squids, or maybe they are squids. I don't know. Shares Armenian. I don't have a list of common knowledge, but you know how people say like, oh, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. I don't think about Armenia very often. That's not the point. If Cher ever comes up in conversation, I'm like, oh yeah, she's Armenian. Everyone's like, well, yeah, we all knew that. I'm like, why do we all why? Kicked an Armenian dog on television. Kyle, it's Saturday. I am not pro baby punting, or throwing, or hitting, or biting. Don't bite children. Don't bite strangers. Like Angela Merkel. Don't bite people without do not bite people without consent, I think is what the message is. Long time no see. Do you want to come to the shrimp party? I don't know what a shrimp party is.